happen after the game. And I knew, Pat, that you'd be saying some really deep and meaningful things. And you were.
I was, yes.
No.
But I think Adelaide, that's the point, that Adelaide is still maturing in the fact that it took them a half to consolidate their defence. But then when they did, they showed everyone, themselves, including themselves, what they could do.
Chencha tries to finger roll one through, but can't quite. It's 82-96, and the margin is 14 points by way of the Perth Wildcats, who have led right from the start. And they'll win this game. And after the game, we'll have both teams represented by a player to wrap up our coverage, which will be in around about 25 minutes' time, a bit underneath now. The next game for the 36ers is on the 2nd of November, and they play Sydney here. And that's a Sunday afternoon game. It's a bit unusual, but that's when it's on. And for Perth, for our listeners in Western Australia, as we have some unusual music being played, but that's the reason is we've got our floor wipers on. It's 96-82, 14 points the difference, and Scott Linus is having a chat, an animated chat to the referee. What do you think that's about, Pat?
No, I'm not sure.
Well, the ref's telling Scott Linus to go away. But, yeah, let's go for Jacob Holmes, who has control of the ball at the stripe. 96-82, 2 minutes 48 to go.
What I haven't got a handle on yet, Pete, is the type of leader that Scott Ninnis is. You've watched them train?
Just the once during the week I watched it for the first time.
What did you pick up from the way that he handles the training session and the feedback he gives his players?
I'm probably the typical person who would say to the players, and I interviewed nearly every one of them, who have played under Phil Smythe, what's the difference? But it's too easy to say that. I should really say, look, you've settled in now, you're playing under a new coach, but Scott wants to be Scott Ninnis. I spoke with him.
Yes.
And he wants to be himself.
Yes.
He wants to stamp his own mark, and he said he stood next to Phil Smythe long enough, and he talked about players like Guy Malloy, and he talked about coaches like Guy Malloy, and he talked about coaches like with Steve Breeny, and when he went over to Melbourne and Shane Heal, he learned from everyone, but he wants to put his own stamp. Yeah, and watching them run around, they just did basic drills, Pat, so there was nothing that I could glean that would be of anything out of the ordinary. But with a new team, the obvious question for me to ask was just how long do you think it's going to take to get yourself into some form of order on the court? And that's what they're finding is difficult.
Yes. And because I remember interviewing Mal Hammerling before the beginning of the first game here, and he said, this is the most exciting team that we have put together since I've been with the 36ers, which is now, I think, he's in his third season. And it's not manifesting into something that is... They have patches of excitement, but that's not what people come to watch. They come to watch for the win.
Of course they do.
And Adelaide hasn't been able to return that yet. I think there is a question mark about Mark Tyndale. The wisdom of recruiting a 22-year-old as your marquee player straight out of college in the United States. He's averaging 15 points. He's scored
10 tonight, now
11. And he needs to be giving you 20-plus points. Whoever that import player is needs to be giving you 20-plus points. You wonder how long Mal Hammerling would give him in assessing his future here. Maybe I'm the first to raise that as a question, but I think it's hovering around in people's minds.
Yeah, it is. That's true. Well, let's get the score. It's 97-85. It's only 12 the difference, but it's 2.5 to go. Perth will win the game and then go to New Zealand. That will be a test and a half.
That would be a very interesting outcome.
Yes.
And but without being too harsh on Adelaide, we have to respect the fact that if, say, Sean Redditch wasn't in the Perth team, how would they have fared tonight against Adelaide if they had an Adam Ballinger in there? But that's a similar, it's a parallel, isn't it?
It's true, but I think both coaches would say, look, we've got 5 on, you've got 5 on, we'll give it our best. And Adelaide showed lots in that third period. Chencha's tired, but the thing that I've liked about Perth most of all has been, have a listen to this, Way 9 points, Hinson 17, Knight 10, Kendall 11, so that's 3 in double figures and one off, just off one off, and Redditch 22.
Yeah.
They play CJ, he's over in New Zealand now, Mr. Bruton, gave the Brisbane Bullets away and went across to play hoop in New Zealand. That'll be a massive game on Thursday. That will be a beauty. And New Zealand doing very well, didn't lose for a while, but they're in the mix. So too the side that we watch now, Perth, who are on their way to a win, 2 minutes to go. Don't leave us because we've got interviews straight after the game. Ball bounces out of court. Holmes has it. He'll pass to Davidson. Davidson 97-85. Davidson's pass. Jacob Holmes. Crash whack out of court, and it is a 36ers ball. Some frustrations from Scott Minish. You may even have picked it up in the effects mic. What is that? Because he thought that Holmes was interfered with going through. And as Redditch sprightly bounces on as if he's just starting the game. The towel is thrown to Peter Crawford. Not the towel being thrown in. Don't get me wrong there, folks. And it'll be a ball belonging to the 36ers. Davidson. Tyndale. Tyndale on the floor for Shencher. Shencher back to Tyndale. Tyndale to Davidson. Oh, the guarding of Perth is spectacular. How's that for a steal from Darnell Hinson? Over the underneath, if excuse me. That was a behind-the-back pass to Redditch, who followed through, put the ball in. That was a little bit of magic, and there'll be an extra shot. 99-85.
Hinson walks away, blowing his hand as if to say, that's pretty hot, that hand of mine. As he took it all the way to the basket and then dumped off on a little behind-the-back, no-look pass to Redditch.
And I'll tell you what, Brad Davidson, I'm not sure whether he gave him a serve or not, but he spoke to him and they both grinned, so it might have been recognition of a super play. 100 plays 85, 15 the difference. Davidson off to Hill. Hill's shot is up and misses, but he's fouled. And he might have been fouled, and he might go for 3, you know, because I think he's a fair way out. He will.
Yes, he will. Yes.
3 shots to Brad Hill. And this ruthless, you know, I'm trying really hard to concentrate on this game, but after the chat with Chuck Armisen and after he was saying the 8th of November virtual D-Day, I'm just wondering what they can do to turn it all around. It's easy to say we've got a market, we've got a sport that nobody knows about. Well, we all know about it.
Yes.
Hill gets his first. We know it's been in existence for a long time.
Well, I think the public, the portion of the public that you want to reach are the people who aren't the regulars. If you want the league to expand, you've got to go out to and convert people. And at the moment, I think what he's saying is that in so many centres around Adelaide, around Australia, we have the solid support.
Yep.
There's 6,000 people here tonight. There are 9,000 people in Melbourne. So the true supporters of basketball will keep coming back, but they need to expand it. And so they need some strategic advice and some guidance on that.
It'll be big. Here's Jacob Holmes for slam. No. Oh, boy. Come on, Jacob. Get off the ground. I thought he was going to fly high. He didn't. He was just up and popped it in for his 11th point. 11 the difference, a minute to go. Double teaming on Hinson. The ball now to Redditch. Redditch over the top will find Knight. Perth Wildcats will win the game. Deservedly so. There's the flick. Redditch again. Hinson. They work the clock. 5 seconds left on the shot clock. Hinson takes them on. Gets into traffic and then gets a tap. So he'll get some shots. He's a spirited customer, isn't he?
And another positive thing about Shencher's game, just not talking about him, but the fact that he has 33 points, but just a second foul. In the early games of this season, he was getting fouled out quite early in the game and sitting out long periods of the early parts of the game, and now he's really finding his feet.
Yep, you don't want your best player on the sidelines as he goes in there. And was there an out-of-court step? Yep, it's Adelaide 36ers ball, 101 to 89, 12 the difference into the last 40 seconds, 15 minutes of time left before we say cheerio to our listeners. That's in South Australia and Western Australia. It's Jacob Holmes. A jump shot for 2 points, has 13. And that's all right. And here he comes, the nemesis, Darnell Hinson. And now that was Luke Shencher who says, oh, hang on a minute. And the ref, who Scotty Nears doesn't like, gives the whistle. And it's 103 to 91. And these basketball shorts, I want some for Christmas. I told you that 4 years ago. I'm not asking again.
What
Yes,
colour?
Hinson.
What colour, Pete?
Blue.